Oh, I messed up. I messed up so bad. I don't know how I'm going to be able to pay double what we're already paying to him. Even with the Splorgle Blast endorsement, there's no way that's even close to enough. Hi, I'm Gruffus. Welcome to Puppet Tabletop, and today we're going to be taking a look at Spooktacular. I'm going to get killed by an octopus, aren't I? So, you may have noticed that the third episode of our Halloween series here is severely lacking Halloween decorations. Well, that's because we had to sell them all in order to afford our next payment to Vinny, and we still don't even have enough. But hey, at least we got the good old green screen, right? At least that's free. Man, this show's falling apart. Anyways, today we're taking a look at Spooktacular. In Spooktacular, 1 to 5 players will be taking on the role of an off-brand slasher movie monster. The year, 1986. It's a time that we like to idolize in pop culture. It's a time period where the Big Mac used to cost $1.60, and slasher movies were at their absolute best. An all-night Spooktacular film festival is running, and something paranormal happens that causes all of the films to come to life. As one of those movie monsters, it's going to be your job to cause as much havoc in the movie theater as possible. You'll be competing against your fellow monsters by trying to terrify and devour as many guests as you possibly can. So just who are these off-brand movie monsters that you'll be playing? Well, there's a ton of them, 20 to be precise. There's the beasts of business, demonic animal stockbrokers that use their Wall Street insider knowledge to manipulate the stocks of your life. There's Mummy Gator, an undead gator that drags victims to his tomb and casts powerful curses on the theater. Ooh. There's also Deadline, a mysterious being that calls phones around the theater, stealing the souls of all who answer. And of course, we can't forget my personal favorite, Rigu. He's an adorable gooey blob that spreads around the theater, absorbing guests and fellow monsters into his gelatinous form. But that's just a small handful of them. There's countless more, and they're all just as campy and hilarious. Each player selects which monster they want to be, and then the board is populated randomly with a variety of guest meeples of various colors. Then everybody decides on who's going to be the first player. The players are encouraged to list their favorite horror film and debate which is the best to determine who goes first. Mine is probably a tie between The Menu and Killer Clowns from Outer Space. But nobody's ever seen either of those movies, so I never go first. Then, starting with the first player and going clockwise, everybody sets up their monster according to the setup instructions on their monster board. Every monster is different, but what is consistent across most monsters is that you'll be taking a set of the 5 common cards that every player gets, and then shuffling them with the cards unique to your monster. You'll then place one of your monster meeples somewhere on the board and draw 3 cards from your deck. After the game is all set up, the game starts with the first player. Now, I'll tell you straight out of the gate, this game is ridiculously simple to teach. Every round, you just follow the instructions listed on your player board under the Turn Steps section. This will be different for every monster, but it'll usually consist of some combination of moving, playing cards, activating a monster special ability, and drawing back up to 3 cards. As I keep mentioning, each monster functions completely unique and asymmetric compared to the others, so there isn't really any clear-cut way to describe the turns, so instead I'll just break down the general actions. First, when your steps instruct you to play a card, you pick a card from your hand and resolve the text on it. Some cards might even let you play more cards. The next kind of action you might be instructed to take is moving. When this happens, you just move from one room to another room that's connected by a door. Then there's the spook action. Whenever you spook, you cause guests to flee in terror from the current room that you're in. For each door in your room, you move one guest through that door into a connected room. You score 1 point for each guest that moves through a door this way. The next action that you might be instructed to take is to devour. When you devour, you choose and remove a single guest from your current room and place it in front of your monster board. Not only do you gain a point for each devoured guest, but whenever you have devoured a guest of each color, you immediately cash them in for a Spooktacular ticket, which has a hidden bonus point on the back that's revealed at the end of the game. The next type of action that you might be instructed to take is to add guests to the board. When this happens, you pull the corresponding number of guests out of a pouch and add them to your current room. Lastly, you might be instructed to use a monster's unique ability. These vary from monster to monster, but they usually allow you to break the rules in some way, and they're always incredibly thematic. Once you've completed all of your turn steps on your monster board, you typically draw back up to 3 cards in your hand, and then play continues to the next player clockwise. Play continues this way until somebody has either cashed in devoured guests for the final Spooktacular ticket, or somebody has reached or exceeded 50 points. And once one of these endgame conditions is met, the round of play finishes until everybody's had an equal amount of turns, and then any endgame scoring and Spooktacular tickets are calculated. Whoever ends the game with the most points emerges victorious as the most terrifying monster in the theater. So, what did I like about Spooktacular? A lot. I liked a lot about it. First, the asymmetry is so freaking good in this game. For each monster, between their turn steps, unique abilities, and monster-specific cards, they just feel so unique from one another. It gives you the same type of feeling you get from asymmetric factions in heavier games, but with a much more accessible package. And this asymmetry is grounded heavily enough in the core mechanics that basically anybody will understand what any monster does even if they've never played them before. And the accessibility of this game is probably one of its strongest points. Not only is it easy to teach and learn, but each monster also has a difficulty indicator listed on it. As a result, the game can be made to work across all kinds of player experience levels. You can play this with your Twilight Imperium buddies and your Catan buddies at the same time. And wait a minute, zoom in on my eyes. Okay, no, that's too close, zoom out a little bit. Okay, that's better. Listen, I just heard some of you sigh when I mentioned Catan. You don't have to like Catan, but while you're here, you best respect it. That game revolutionized the hobby. Respect your elders. I'm talking to you, Michael. Anyway, back to Spooktacular. Not only is this game super accessible, but it's also really easy to sneak into a game night. The game sets up and tears down pretty quick, and to top it off, it plays quick as well, which is pretty nice considering how satisfying the strategic elements of this game feel. You could use this as the main event of your board game night and squeeze in 2 to 3 games, or you could play a single game with it as either a starter or finisher game. Plus, it works well at pretty much every player count, which was a nice surprise. Now, I want to gush about the art and theming at the same time. So here I go. This game is just a perfect love letter to the campy horror films of the 80s. Looking at the movie posters designed for each monster, there's funny movie taglines and art that immediately lets you know what kind of movie your monster is from. After unboxing the game for the first time, I went through and read all of the posters, and I had a pretty good laugh while doing so. They're really awesome. Plus, all of the 20 unique monsters come with their own custom meeples, and some monsters have even more than one meeple that they use. And all these chunky meeples, they feel noise. Real noise. Real noise. Every element of this game aesthetically and mechanically fits the idea of monsters loose in a movie theater perfectly. For anyone that's ever seen The Cabin in the Woods, it feels like the second half of that movie in the best way possible, but you're playing from the perspective of the monsters. For those of you that haven't seen that film, I guess I would compare it to the old arcade game Rampage. And if you don't know either of those references, then, well, I don't know. Thanks for giving me 5 seconds of your life you're never gonna get back. Wait a minute. Do you hear that? No. Is it? It is. It's box time! The box for Spooktacular is pretty decent. The box has a custom insert that stores the cards and components relatively safe. If I had one complaint, it would be that it's a bit unclear how all the smaller components are supposed to be stored, so some bits do have some space to move around, but compared to most games, it does the job good enough. It's one of those boxes that has enough thought put into it to keep me from being worried about my components being damaged, but it's also not really doing anything special. Overall, it's good enough. So what did I not like about this bad boy? Well, first off, there's some slight balancing issues with the game. Some of the monsters require higher player counts to be good or to be kept in check. This can result in lower player count games being a little bit swingy if you use those monsters. The game is still a blast though, and it's short enough that I never really got disappointed even when I finished a game being decimated by my wife. But if you're the type of gamer that wants all your games to be super tight, just know that you'll have the occasional runaway game with Spooktacular. Another downside is that most of the monsters won't have anything to do outside of their own turn. As a result, at higher player counts, it can be hard to plan long term as the board state's going to change drastically between your turns. But enemy monster turns are entertaining and they go by quickly, so downtime isn't too much of a problem. But if taking each turn as it comes is not the way that you like to strategize, then you might want to stick to the 2 or 3 player counts. Or maybe just pass on the game altogether. But those are really my only 2 major complaints about the game.
Alright, Gruffus, are you done with your portion of the review? We gotta talk about something.
I mean, what is there to talk about? I borrowed a bunch of money from a gang of octopus mafiosos, and they keep increasing the payment I owe.
Yeah, he said he was gonna shut down Puppet Tabletop if we didn't pay him, and he also implied that our necks were on the line. Listen, you got us into this mess, how the heck are you gonna get us out of it?
Sheesh, dude, I left for like a week and suddenly you grow a backbone? Listen, I'm gonna figure this out, I always do, okay? We just gotta power through this 5 weeks of Puppet Halloween thing, and I'm sure we'll have a plan by then.
We don't even have Halloween decorations anymore. How are we supposed to do 2 more weeks of this?
I don't know, Sam over at Lord of the Board is doing 31 days of Halloween videos, I'm sure we could manage 2 more. Oh, and by the way, if you guys are looking for some really good Halloween board games, I highly recommend you go check out the series he's doing right now. He's putting out banger after banger, and there's some really good Halloween board games on that list. Anyway, I'll drop a link in the description.
Gruffus, I need you to focus. That doesn't help us not get iced by an octopus. And besides, he's actually good at what he does. He's got good lighting, he's got cool merch, and a spooky new logo.
Mortimer, you're a freaking genius.
What, the new logo?
No, we can't afford a new logo. That's not the part I'm talking about. I'm talking about the merch. I know where he keeps his merch. I just got an idea for how we can get some money. Stay here, finish the video. I'm gonna go deal with something, but if anybody asks, tell them I was here the whole time.
Well, don't do anything illegal, okay? Yeah, he's 100% trying to steal that merch, isn't he?
This Halloween, get haunted by the extreme deliciousness. It's so good. And mild regret. Oh God, what have I done? Splorgle Blast! Never let the party die!
Hi, I'm Mortimer. I do the solo reviews here at Puppet Tabletop, and yeah, I guess let's just get into it. Spooktacular actually has a pretty interesting solo mode in my opinion. One of the monsters you can play as in the game is a robot named Kiltron. But in the solo mode, they provide a method for automating Kiltron as an opponent. Kiltron starts at the 5, 10, 15, or 20 point mark depending on how difficult you want the game to be. Kiltron also uses a predetermined deck of cards that's revealed from each turn to determine what kind of actions he takes on the board. It works well enough for a solo mode, and it's probably the best solution that you can come up with outside of a root-style clockwork enemy situation. However, it is a little bit of a bummer that the only enemy that you'll get to fight against is Kiltron. And Kiltron uses the same cards every time you play against him. That being said though, the solo mode doesn't feel like a lazy, slapped-on, beat-your-high-score type system that a lot of games unfortunately use. Instead, it actually simulates an enemy Kiltron pretty decently, and it does provide a good enough challenge that I enjoyed it the few times I played it. The cool thing about this Kiltron system as well is that it can also be used to fill in missing player spaces at any of the other player counts if you want. This can help balance things out if you want to use a monster that doesn't function too well at lower player counts. In terms of a solo mode though, I think it's fun enough the first few times you play it, but it does start to get stale after a while, considering that Kiltron is just kind of doing the same thing every time you play. Overall though, this isn't really a game that you buy for the solo mode. This is a fun, fast-paced multiplayer game at its heart, and the solo mode is just a nice but slightly repetitive addition on top of it. He's still not back? Well, did you check the police station yet? Okay, well, I'm just gonna finish it, okay? So, that's Spooktacular. It's a light, accessible, and fun strategy game with a lot of replayability. The asymmetry, while not perfectly balanced, is still a true joy to experience. I really love this game, and Gruffus loves it too. He might even love it more than I do. Despite the low complexity and the imperfections, this is one of those games that just reminds me of why I got into the hobby in the first place, to have a good time. And so, I think because of how much joy this game continues to bring us, I have no choice but to bestow it with the highest honor that we have here at Puppet Tabletop. The Puppet Chef Kiss. Well, as always, thanks for watching, and remember to shop at your local board game store if you can.
No, I'm back. Oh,
What the hell happened?
Vents falling. Sam was there. Had to abort the mission. I think I broke my finger.